All right, everyone, welcome to this rendition of the monthly tracking form opt-in, opt-out webinar. This is going to be over sustainability grant round 3, and we're just going to go over some documentation questions, some of our frequently asked questions, as well as how to upload those receipts and who will be communicating with you in the case of an audit, things like that. So we'll go ahead and get started. First off, I want to start by introducing our team, a lot of which you have worked with already. Our senior program manager, Samantha, grant specialist, Chris Reyes, grant specialist, Ametria, lead grant specialist, Rose Graff, grant specialist, Vicki Robinson, myself, grant specialist, Maria Wellman, and grant specialist, Jan Kuckelman. For your navigators, we'll be split up into regions here. So we'll have for Region 1, Kathy Ediger, Region 2, Sierra, Region 3, Brianna, and Region 4, Gail. Starting out with expenses and monthly tracking forms, a couple of important dates for you guys. Expenses must be reported by the 10th of each month on the monthly tracking form through your WLS profile. Whether you do that online or if you call us to have that filled out, we can do that for you over the phone. For opting in and opting out, starting in June, moving forward, all providers are going to be opted in automatically for payment. So the only thing that you as a provider will have to worry about is opting out if you choose not to have that month's payment. Dates for reported expenses are going to be from March 12th of 2020 all the way up until June 30th of 2023. So we do still have plenty of time to get all those expenses in. Just a general overview of what expenses are covered. We have personnel costs, salaries, employment taxes, self-employment tax, things like rent, mortgage, utilities, which includes insurance, late fees, minor renovations, personal protective equipment, goods or services like advertising, classroom supplies, cleaning supplies, purchases of or updates to equipment and supplies will be covered as well. And mental health supports. So any of these that are on this slide, you will be able to see on your monthly tracking form. And once we get in there to the demonstration, I'll actually show you where you can find additional information on these. Again, important dates just for sustainability applications. March 1st is when the application opens. But this application is on a rolling basis. So for those that were not able to apply in March or April or any of the previous months that we've had, it is still open and it will continue to be open for those that may be needing to get their initial license or things like that. For monthly tracking forms, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our account for you guys. So when you log onto your account, it may look something like this. And what you're going to want to do first is go to your grants tab. And you're going to scroll down to your sustainability round 3 grant application. And here's where you're going to find all these other lovely tabs that have your notification letter, your monthly tracking form, impact story, which is going to be due by June 30th of 2023. You only have to fill out one impact story over the course of the entire grant. So make sure you get that in. When you are typing in your impact story, you'll type in text over here and you will hit the save button. If you do not hit the save button, it will not save your narrative and you'll have to go back in and do it again. This little section over here is actually going to be for any images that you would like to upload of maybe you made some renovations or bought some supplies and things that you'd like to show. You will just upload your photo here and you will click submit. for your monthly tracking form, which again is due on the 10th of each month, you will click on monthly expenditure tracking and you will scroll down to the corresponding month. We're going to go ahead and leave everything blank for right now. But if we were to go in, and we will be needing to fill out our May 2022 monthly tracking form. The 10th of June is coming up. So that is going to be when that May 2022 monthly tracking form is due. So if I were to be reporting salaries for May of 2022, I would come to this category and I would type in the box. Maybe I want to spend my entire grant on salaries, the entire grant amount. At $1,800 per month, the total grant amount is going to be $16,200. So if I wanted to claim all of salaries for the entire grant, I would just go ahead and type that in this box here. The tracking form is kind of wary about commas, decimal points, things like that. So we just go ahead and put it in just like that. And you will scroll down to the bottom here and you will hit save. And then when you go back in to your monthly tracking form, you can double check that it saved it in there for you. Now, like I said before, moving forward, all providers will automatically be opted in for monthly payments. So if you choose to opt out for a month, if you are closed over the summer or things like that, you will simply scroll down to the month that you wish to opt out. You will hit no, and you will hit save. And again, you'll have to click all these OKs, and then that should get that in there for you. To check that, you'll go right back into your monthly tracking form and you'll scroll down and you'll see that it has selected no. So that is how you would input any amounts on your monthly tracking form. Now, to upload any type of receipt for anything that you might put in there, we do have this section down here at the bottom. So what you'll do for that is you will come over here where it says add new receipt, and you will type in things like the date, the amount, the categories, things like that. So the receipt that we're actually going to be using today for salaries is going to be this one here. So for salaries for sustainability round 3, you are able to use a formula to calculate your salaries so that you won't need to provide anything like a W-2 or anything like documentation for that. If you wish to do it that way, you certainly can, but this is an alternative. So what you will do is you will multiply your hours worked per month times 1824, and that 1824 is going to be that set rate. So an example of recording this for receipt purposes is just like this. You'll have the year, the month, hours, the rate, and the total. And this will be an acceptable form of a receipt for salaries. Now, you might notice that down here at the bottom, our salaries are just a little bit more than what we put in our monthly tracking form. They're a little bit more than what our total grant amount was, which is okay, because what we will do with that is we will go to our monthly tracking form and we will just end up making a partial claim because we do not want to go over our total grant amount. Now, the only time that you are going to be required to upload receipts is if you are selected for an audit. And if you are selected for an audit, one of our specialists will be reaching out to you, getting in touch with you about the things that we will need for that. So you don't need to stress about that. We will definitely be in communication and helping you work through that process. Some additional documentation examples that I have are for those of you who might use Amazon. And an example of an Amazon receipt that we would find acceptable would be similar to this one here. This is going to be an invoice that you are able to view on your Amazon account. If you go over to My Orders, My Invoices, this is what the invoice is going to look like, and it's going to have the date. It's going to have the vendor, which is Amazon. It will have listed out what items you did purchase as well as the price. and it will show that you did pay for that item. So those are all the things that we are needing for receipt documentation from you guys. So if you do use Amazon, this is a really good way to get all of that information on one page, easy to document, easy to upload. And if you were to upload a receipt like this on your page, it would be similar to how we did our salaries. You would check out the date, which was February 7th of 2022. You would find the total amount, including tax, which is going to be $20.78. You would choose the category, and it was just a couple little toy type things. So I would put that under classroom supplies. And then the month for that would be that April 2022 for a month category, because if you check up here, our first category is March 12th, 2020 through April 30th of 2022. So it would fit right in there. And you would choose that file on your computer and you would save it. And then you would see that that receipt is uploaded as well. So that is kind of how our monthly tracking forms work and kind of what they look like, as well as our receipt documentation. And just to give you a little bit more of a visual on what we are looking for in that receipt documentation, we have this slide here that lists the vendor, the date of purchase, the purchase amount, and the item name. So those are all things that we are going to need on those receipts from you guys. With receipts like Walmart receipts or Dillon's receipts, the paper ones that you'll get from them, when you are scanning those or sending us photos of those to upload, make sure that you include the date on those, because sometimes they are on the very, very, very bottom and they get cut off, and we are going to need that on there. Receipt submission is what we had just gone over on our monthly tracking form. We have payment overviews, which just kind of goes over the amounts that you will get through this grant. I think we are generally pretty familiar with all of those amounts. Your grant navigators, as introduced earlier, they are available to help you with receipt documentation or any other questions you might have. If there are any expenses that you're not sure quite what category they go in, or if they're quite covered, you are able to visit our website and fill out a form for assistance, and that will go directly to our grants team so that we can get it to the right region to help you out. The last thing that I did want to go over is going to be our FAQ sheet. I'm not going to go over every single question we have on here, but there are quite a few that I felt were very common. So we're going to go ahead and go over those. One being is the award amount based on current enrollment or license capacity. So the award amount is going to be based on your license capacity, which we are able to check through KDHE. So if your enrollment changes over the course of your grant and you end up having a couple less kiddos than what you're licensed for, that is not going to change your payment amount. Now, if you end up temporarily closing over the course of the grant, please notify us and we will work with you on what we are needing to do for that. Another question is, can we choose all categories in the application if we're unsure of what categories to report expenses under? When you fill out your application, you are able to check all of those category boxes. But for those of you that have already filled out your application, you unfortunately are not able to edit that application. But we will accept expenses reported for categories that you did not originally check on your application. So if you originally did not check salaries and you ended up needing to use those grant funds for salaries, you can go ahead and do that on your monthly tracking form. Another question we get a lot is, do I have to spend the entire monthly award amount each month to be eligible for the next payment? You do not have to claim the total award amount each month. but some amount of funds must be accounted for on your monthly tracking form to be eligible to receive the next month's payment. A question that goes along with this really well is for those of you that might have bigger projects down the road that you want to save those grant funds for and pay for when you're able to save up those funds. So what we recommend for that is claiming a past expense such as salaries or your rent or mortgage. That way you're essentially just reimbursing yourself for those expenses, and then you're able to save that money and spend it on whatever project you would like. If you do claim your total grant amount within 1 month, as we did with our salaries in our monthly tracking form demonstration, you do not need to log in every single month and fill out a monthly tracking form or add or change anything. Once you have claimed your entire award amount, you won't need to fill out a monthly tracking form. And now that our opt-in has changed, you won't need to log in to opt in for payment either. For those rent and mortgage claims, you'll go ahead and for those of you that run a daycare out of your home, we get a question about, is it just a percentage? It is going to be your entire rent or mortgage bill. Again, the opt-in has changed slightly. You will all be automatically opted in for payment each month. So you do not have to worry about opting in by the 5th of each month. Just opting out if there are any months where you will be closed or any payments that you do not want to receive. If you have an invoice for a project that will not be completed within the grant period. So remember, the grant period is March 12th of 2020 through June 30th of 2023. So if you have a project in mind for anything past June 30th of 2023, we are not able to accept invoices for projects. We are only able to expense projects that are paid for. So you might get a quote or an invoice from a company, but that does not count as the receipt documentation that we will need. So to claim things like that, it needs to be within the month that it was paid. And if it is not paid before the grant period is up, it cannot be counted for the grant. On submitting receipts, of course, we went over the demonstration, but if you have any further questions on how to upload any receipts or anything like that, our contact information is going to be on our website. You can chat with us, send us an email, or fill out that request for assistance form. Again, the receipts do need to be dated between March 12th of 2020 and June 30th of 2023. And another question we get is that all eligible expenses may only be reported once. So what this means is that if you claim your mortgage for May of 2022, it has to be something that you have not claimed on previous grants. So a better example of this might be buying toilet paper. You are able to buy multiples of toilet paper over different months. You just have to provide that separate receipt for items. So what you can't do is upload the exact same receipt for multiple months or multiple items. It has to be that individual receipt that pertains to that specific item. And that is just some of the general questions that we get. Like I said, of course, if you have any additional questions for us or anything like that, we do have our request for assistance form that is available through our website. And I hope that we were able to answer some of your questions through this. Of course, rewatch this as many times as you need, and we will be here if you have any questions. Thank you.